Okay, a request for Dr. K to talk about narcissism. I watched Dr. K's entitled Parents video, and as I listened to him explain the definition of a narcissist, I realized that I do know a narcissist. It's me. Good job, bro. Basically, I only knew about narcissism from a grandmother who people called a narcissist and all the internet horror stories, and it led me to believe that narcissism is something else. I don't believe I am better than everyone else. I believe I'm worse, actually. And I don't use people or intentionally do evil things to them. But I fit Dr. K's definition of narcissism to a T. I've been told by friends that I only think about myself, and I seem to be unable to consider how other people are feeling before I do or say things. I've also recently caught myself having anxiety that a friend's sad mood that I knew wasn't about me. The friend had told me about several difficult things in his life, so I knew for sure it wasn't about me. It was actually about me. That's perfect. I mean, that's a good example. Narcissists are so vilified on the internet, and I really want Dr. K to make a video completely dedicated to how narcissists can change their mindset and behavior again. Again, I don't consider myself a horrible person, and I believe, and I badly want to be a better one. I know that he would take a very empathetic, loving approach and understand we are not just horrible people to be avoided at all costs. There's even a little bit of... There's something about that statement that just strikes me as... Okay. Something about this person's narcissism is coming through in this statement. So here, just to recap for people. So a lot of people think that narcissism is what they call being an entitled asshole on the internet. Right? So if you go to the subreddit, Am I the Asshole? That's full of narcissists. And I think the term gets thrown around a lot. Entitlement, narcissism, there's a lot of things that kind of get wrapped up together. And I think the challenge is that narcissism is more than being an asshole. Okay? There are many assholes who are narcissists. There are many assholes who are not narcissists. And there are many narcissists who are not assholes. So here are a couple of features that I really think about in terms of narcissism. One is a sense of internal self-worth that is low or shaky, and therefore requires outward validation to preserve a sense of self. So what this kind of means is if I don't feel confident in myself, I'm going to require the rest of the world telling me that I'm an awesome person to feel good about myself. And so what happens with narcissistic people is they engage in behaviors that lead to those kinds of outward shows. So for example, a lot of people will be sympathy farmers. So they'll go around, people who are narcissistic will go around and tell stories of woe is me. And what happens is when they're sympathy farming, people will be oh my God, poor you. And then they feel cared for, right? They feel loved because other people are telling them, oh my God, that must be so hard for you. The problem is that it becomes narcissistic because it becomes self-centered. And this is where the self-centeredness comes in, because when someone else is telling a story about sympathy, you're oh wow, look at that sweet, sweet sympathy that person is getting. I need me some of that sweet, sweet sympathy, man. I feel bad about myself. I don't feel loved. Let me get some of that sweet, sweet sympathy. Oh man, you got emotionally abused by your parents. I got physically abused, emotionally abused. I got all the abuses, man. And so then you one-up them, right? You engage in behaviors to garner that sympathy, but in doing so, you actually are insensitive to the needs of others, right? So that's how that narcissism kind of complex works. So one aspect of it is insecurity in your internal environment, requiring you to engage in behaviors that garner that sympathy. And this is also why people give you the sympathy, but they feel manipulated by it, right? They're man, fuck that. You don't, sometimes people don't even understand what's going on, but they start to dislike you. So the second aspect of narcissism is self-centeredness. It's hard, but you can't not think about yourself. And this post has such a good example. They're if your friend is having a bad day, your mind automatically thinks about how you are making their day worse. You're not an asshole. It's just your mind is oh my God, how did I screw up? I'm screwing up so bad. This person is so upset. And the person can even say, hey, it has nothing to do with you. The world does not revolve you. My suffering does not revolve around you. But their brains are just populating thoughts, but they're just saying that to make me feel better, but it is my fault. They're trying to say that to make me feel better, but clearly I'm screwing up in some way. I could be a better friend. And so it's kind of interesting, but like the world kind of revolves around them. So sometimes that results in like entitlement and assholes behavior, right? Where you show up somewhere and you're like, where is my food, waiter? I've been waiting for 15 minutes. And you have like no conception that other human beings have like lives and challenges, and maybe the waiter has something going on or like whatever, right? So sometimes it results in assholery. But like, it doesn't always result in assholery. Sometimes it actually results in like really low self-esteem. Sometimes it results in like a lot of like, once again, behaviors that can be frustrating to other people, like reassurance seeking. Like, are you sure that you're not upset at me? Are you really sure that you're not upset at me? Like, are you really sure that you're upset because your dad passed away and it's not my fault? Are you sure? And so it's not like you're being mean or an asshole to them, but you're also doing things that make people like not want to engage with you. And so that's kind of like the end result of narcissism, is that people don't enjoy being around you. And the reason they don't enjoy being around you is not because of like you're not fundamentally like a bad person. It's that your narcissism dictates certain kinds of behaviors that you're hungry for that feel like manipulative or frustrating to the other person. And neither of y'all can really pin it down what is actually wrong here. It's a feeling. It's like something feels a little bit like manipulative about this. But you're not really sure what it is, and so you can't really call attention to it. You can't really fix it. And this actually further reinforces the insecurity, and this is why narcissists get stuck. Because as you engage in these like hungry behaviors to get things, people feel manipulated. They don't feel like you're empathic. You're not really listening to them. You're one-upping them. You're kind of making it about you. And then as they dislike you and feel manipulated, they don't really like criticize you, but they start to pull away. And as they start to pull away, like the insecurity gets worse, right? And then the vicious cycle like continues, because then you're like, you can feel this person pulling away. And then it's like, if we think about this person, we use this example of, are you sure you're not sad because of me? And they're like, no, dude, I'm really not sad because of you. You're not mad at me. No, I'm not mad at you. And then the more you keep asking, the more mad at you they get. And then they're like, you know what, bro, just don't worry about it. I'm just going to hang up. The person leaves, and then you're like, oh my God, they're mad at me. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the next time that someone is upset, that has nothing to do with you, your mind has learned this lesson. Oh, they were upset with me. I did screw it up. And then the whole cycle repeats. So that's sort of like the narcissistic construction. We can go into more detail. So step number 1, it's about internal insecurity that requires external validation to make you feel good about yourself. It's hungry. You're hungry. You're hungry for it. That causes all kinds of behaviors. Second thing is that it's self-centered, which means that other people are living their lives, but for some reason, whatever is going on in other people's lives, you feel like the PC and they are NPCs, as opposed to them being the PC and you being the NPC. Everything revolves around you, not like in an asshole entitled way, but like your mind can't help but think about you in the situations that other people have. And then those kinds of behaviors will result in impacting your relationships in a way that reinforces the insecurity and like makes the whole problem worse, and then makes you hungrier to begin with. That's narcissism in a nutshell. We'll definitely talk about it more.